We're now going to talk about the actual construction of the house. Started in January 2008, and it's due for completion in the middle of June. So it's quite long. It wasn't that easy a project because the structural elements of the house were not really as robust as we thought. People think that Victorian houses were solidly constructed and perhaps look to Victorian builders as the kind of acme of construction. But while some aspects of 17th and Augustine's Road was solidly built, there were others like this wall, which was actually out of center and was bowing out and had to be corrected. We found that the roof was falling down and had to replace the roof. And as you can see, the house was stripped out, which is sad from the heritage point of view, but was what we had to do to get the house completed. One of the things about doing this sort of work is it's actually new techniques that have to be learned by contractors, and as we mentioned before, reducing ventilation is one of the key factors in getting the energy down. And so we went in for toolbox training, toolbox talks, and presentations about the how to do the insulation and the importance of coal bridging and the importance of being airtight. And the techniques of insulating are different from what I suppose conventional construction would be. Here you've got the need to insulate between the ceiling and the floor, and that's an area of complexity that most contractors wouldn't be needing to do. And it's actually a difficult area to insulate, because not only have you got to put the insulation in place, you've got to seal it up. And that involves training of the people doing the work, and also monitoring it. And it's monitoring in places that people it's people doing things that they're not used to be doing, and people monitoring things that they're not used to monitoring. So I think the construction industry is on going to be on a rapid learning curve to get this work done. In this house, there was lots of checking and lots of discussion on site. There were issues, for example, like that cropped out late on, like how do we hang basins so that they don't fall off the wall. We ended up doing that by putting ply sheets on the wall and fixing to the ply sheets because we couldn't really get the strength by fixing to the insulation. And right at the last instance, we realized that people would be putting up curtains and had to reinforce places above the windows to take curtain rails. All these things crops up in a project like this, which would be standard for most contractors doing conventional jobs. So we're breaking new ground, and everybody has to learn. So that's a slide of the plywood on the wall, so that we can fix basins on it. And there are also some, the other picture shows places where, even though you want insulation, there's not enough space for it. So in this instance, the thickness of insulation was restricted by the width of the wall, width of the stairs. This shows that even 17th and Augustine's Road is a massive house, and even in this massive house, we found places where we had to reduce the insulation thickness. Just imagine what would happen if in a small Victorian terrace, the impact of 4 inches of insulation plus battening plus plasterboard would mean to the livability of rooms in a small house. So that's another issue that has to be taken into account.
One of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they insulate existing buildings is not to think about the floorboards. If you don't get the boards up, if you don't take the ceilings down, it's out of sight, out of mind, but it counts. The advantages that we've got here is that this internal wall here, that was here, has gone. By clearing away most of the internal walls, we've actually cleared away a lot of the thermal bridging that would normally take place, and this is really good news. Also, by taking the ceilings down, we can go all the way up. We can actually get a pretty continuous layer of insulation all the way through. The next thing I want to discuss is convective bypassing, which is a complicated way of saying that if the air can get round the back of the insulation slabs and circulate round the insulation slabs, then the insulation effect, which we're relying on Kingspan for, is going to be lost. Okay, so we've got the brickwork here, external brickwork, we've got the insulation, and if you imagine that this is a floor void and this is a floor void, I've not shown the joist, it gets too complicated, the air can just circulate round here. And we've actually made channels for the air to circulate through if we're not careful. So we've got to be careful, we do have to take care not to connect these batten spaces up with the floor voids to generate convective bypasses. The solution to a convective bypass is just to have continuous insulation and not let the air get in. What we're trying to do here is to stop the airflow from the joist space up and down to here. So we've stopped it here. If we foam into this space here, the foam can just sit on this horizontal batten and it will not just fall down below. And then we can offer up the board. The same thing at the top. And it's just got to be enough so it can fill that.
Take the film.
So, yeah. That's it. Super. That's it. Great stuff. That's fine.
One layer of tie back. Across the top. There's another layer of tie back. So it goes into gutter.
Yep. What happens to the bottom layer?
Bottom layer of tie back has to be, I guess, pinned under here. I think it's probably the easiest. Actually, there was one thing about having a... Sorry, yeah, that's right. That's right. You put it down there, and then there's having a fascia board on. Yeah.
Right, okay, fair. And then we're going to have a piece of tie back on top, and then some more Kingspan and some more tie back.
And any air there would be trapped up inside, would it not?
We want to just sketch that.
You've got your tie back comes out,
Yep.
it turns up,
Yep.
your lid flashing will come over,
Yep.
seal down,
Yep.
you seal that down,
Yeah.
so the tie back effectively, does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
The tie back will sit inside the lead, and you'll see that joint there.
Is that red flashing not going to come higher up?